to him. You know that thing. I'm doing the research and putting it all together right now. The fans believe that. They know it's all BS.
Nah, the fans don't believe it at all, but we just gotta, stand on business and let them know that we not playing.
If you're new to this drama, let me catch you up. Honestly, I kind of saw this coming. These two were once in love, but now they're each other's worst enemies. It's crazy how things flipped. At first, it seemed like everything was fine, but somewhere along the way, everything went wrong. Now, it's all out there for everyone to see. Things have been quiet for a while, and it seemed like they both moved on and were just living their lives. In the past, she'd fire back whenever he threw shade, but this time, it felt like they'd left all that behind. Then, just when it seemed like everything was over, he couldn't resist stirring things up again. He threw some shade at one of Viv's movies, and that brought everything back into the spotlight. Viv later admitted that looking back, the whole thing was a big lesson for her. She said, "It was the first time I went public with a relationship, and maybe I should have taken more time to get to know him. I met him as Curtis." She acknowledged the relationship didn't last, but the press stuck around way longer than it did. Why do you think the press does that? She wondered. It was wild how the press made her out to be the bad guy. When I read those stories, I was like, this is so ridiculous. They had him saying that she was using him to get attention and publicity, which couldn't have been further from the truth. She was about to star in a film with Oscar-winning actors and had been acting for years. But somehow, they still twisted it all. She just shrugged it off, calling it a ghetto love story. Now, she's stepping up to direct the biopic about a Detroit gangster, and it's set to debut later this year. It's a huge project, and she's ready to show what she's really capable of.
It's like a huge learning lesson for me. It was the first time that I went public with the relationship that I should have maybe taken the time to get to know him.
With 50 Cent?
Yes, Curtis.
Capable of. Here's where things get really interesting. 50 Cent has his own BMF series, and in one of his videos, he talked about the drama with the First Lady of BMF. Someone asked, "How did you two make up? Who called who?" 50 said, "I called her." Everyone was surprised by that, and he added, "You've got to stop fighting me and get my video." She was shocked that he actually reached out. Now they're friends. When asked if he'd ever date her again, he said, "Well, the song is about leaving us all hanging and curious about what's next." When relationships don't work out, it's tough. When I explained it to her, it actually made the song's meaning hit even harder, especially with me trying to stay true to myself. The public sees it as a relationship that failed, thinking we won't date anymore. But things get more interesting when 50 Cent launches his own BMF series, which became one of Starz's biggest shows. He even posted a throwback video on Instagram, where he's accepting the award for Best New Artist, showing how far he's come in his career. At the BET Awards, things got a bit wild.
Wake up. Who called who?
I called her.
You did?
Yeah.
That's so sweet. What did you say when you called
I
her?
said, you gotta stop fighting me and get my video.
And she said?
It felt like they weren't going to leave him alone. Then someone asked, "What's Judge Mathis doing here?" And another person joked, "That's the police." He laughed and said, "I'm just enjoying myself. This is a big change in my life, and I'm so happy to be here with all these amazing people." He even took a moment to thank Vivica Fox for wearing that stunning dress. With a smile, he added, "He's such a gentleman, so generous, and I know him as Curtis. Always will." And of course, there's 50 Cent. That's just who he is, both as a person and in his work. I remember when I first met Curtis, I asked, "What should I call you?" He just said, "Curtis, that's my name." I was like, okay, cool. Then, for my birthday, he did something amazing. He filled my entire house with my favorite flowers, cat blancas and gardenias. A van kept pulling up, dropping off more flowers, and I kept saying, more, more. He's super generous and kind. If you had as many...
I'm enjoying myself. This is a big change in my life. I'm just happy to be present.
Many people in your life as he does, you'd see just how special he really is. It got really uncomfortable for her, especially when other people started pushing her to do things that weren't even her choice. It felt like everyone was telling her what to do. This person wants this, that person wants that, and she just thought, this doesn't feel right. Then there was that rumor about turning the 12-carat ring into earrings. Is that true? Anyway, I really enjoyed this interview. Thank you. Oh, wait. There's one last thing I wanted to share. I posted about our interview and one of my former teachers reached out. She wanted to tell you some methy. She said you're such a great role model for kids. You never gave up on your dreams and realized that living on the streets wasn't the way to go. She's really proud of you. This is a former teacher of mine, and she's just so happy to see how far you've come. So about Monaco. Wow, when Prince Albert and them threw that party, it was amazing. By the way, how's your love life? Are you living it up every day? Laughs. Oh man, my love life is great. Good for you, man. That's awesome. It was like the first time Vivica gave you the green light and said she was going to get naked in your bed. Was that exciting? Yeah, it was definitely a big moment. But were you able to hold out for a long time? Laughs. No. It's tough to hold out, at least for me. You have to focus, you know? Think about sports, basketball, football, baseball, anything to keep your mind busy. So when things heated up, did she make a lot of noise? She did make some noise, but I'm not really into that. I like things to be a bit quieter. So you like a girl who's loud, huh? Laughs. Did you have to court her for a long time? Like, take her out on dates and buy her jewelry before things got serious? Yeah, we spent a lot of time together, went to a few different places and hung out. Then I went on my European tour. That's when things started to fall apart, right? No, actually, the relationship ended after the World Music Awards. I came back, and he was on the radio saying he dumped me. Laughs. You dumped hers? She wasn't going to let him control the story without getting her own side out there. I met him as Curtis, but anyway, the relationship didn't work out, but the press kept talking about it way longer than we were even together. I don't understand why they always do that. Why do they always blame the woman? When I read some of that stuff, it was just crazy. He was saying things like, she's exploiting me, and all this nonsense. He was saying I was using him for publicity, but that wasn't true at all. I was about to star in a movie with Oscar-winning actors, and I've been acting for years. But to him, it was just ghetto love, his way of saying I did him wrong after the breakup. As for 50 Cent blaming the drop in ratings for the second season on Soulja Boy, it felt like the classic pot calling the kettle black situation. And honestly, Soulja Boy's got his own drama to deal with.
Without it being even her decision. Right. Her publicist is saying, do this. This person is, do this. And it's
Soulja Boy deserves more credit than he often gets. He's been in the rap scene for a long time, starting out young, just like other big names such as Lil Wayne. Over the years, he's faced a lot of challenges, some of which have been tough for him to navigate. One of those moments was when he got into a tricky situation in New York. He was with some people who ended up kicking him out, leaving him on his own. He had nowhere to go and ended up wandering the halls of a building, feeling lost and vulnerable, but still holding on to his pride. It's not easy for anyone to deal with situations like that, and Soulja Boy has had a share of them. Despite all the ups and downs, he's always managed to keep moving forward. He's been around the industry long enough to see and experience a lot, and he's learned a lot from it. You might have seen photos of a couple on a magazine cover before, but Soulja Boy stands out in his own way. He's different, and he has the ability to recognize people who share his unique perspective and experiences. There's a saying, birds of a feather flock together, meaning people who are similar tend to connect, and Soulja Boy definitely knows how to spot others like him. His knowledge of the entertainment world, particularly in relation to its gay scene, shows that he's not someone who is just on the outside looking in. He's been in the mix enough to understand what goes on behind the scenes. It's not something that can be learned just by hearing about it from others. You have to experience it firsthand to truly know it. Soulja Boy has seen things and lived through enough situations to be aware of what's going on around him. I also want to mention that Soulja Boy has an interesting perspective on race. He has spoken about it multiple times, and it's clear that he cares deeply about the subject. However, there's sometimes a question of whether he's speaking from a place of personal experience, or if it's just the alcohol talking when he's had a few too many drinks. Either way, his feelings on the matter come through strongly, even if they're not always clear or consistent. For Soulja Boy, being in the spotlight has meant dealing with all kinds of pressure and scrutiny. The idea of the police showing up or being caught in difficult situations has been part of his journey. Despite that, he seems to take it all in stride and still manages to find a way to enjoy himself. When he hears the sirens or finds himself in those tense moments, it seems like he doesn't let it ruin his mood. It's like he's learned to roll with the punches, no matter what happens. This whole period in his life feels like a big shift, and Soulja Boy is clearly grateful for the experiences he's had along the way. He's found himself surrounded by a lot of interesting and amazing people, and he seems genuinely happy to be part of that world. The journey has been long, but it seems like he's finally at a point where he can appreciate what he's done and where he is now. I also can't forget to mention his gratitude toward others. In particular, he took a moment to thank actress Vivica Fox for wearing a dress that caught everyone's attention. Soulja Boy came across as very appreciative, acknowledging her generosity and the thoughtfulness she showed in making an impact with her choice of clothing. It's these kinds of gestures that remind you that, despite everything, he's still someone who knows how to show respect and appreciation for those around him. Overall, Soulja Boy has been through a lot over the years, and he deserves respect for sticking it out in an industry that isn't always kind to its artists. Whether you agree with everything he says or not, you can't deny the journey he's been on. From tough moments in New York to navigating the highs and lows of fame, he's managed to keep moving forward and remain relevant in a game that's always changing. The world might not always see his struggles, but those who've been around him understand the depth of his experiences. Soulja Boy might be rough around the edges, but he's made a mark that can't easily be erased. I know him well. Miss Curtis always will. And 50 Cent, that's his performer name. But as a person, he's different. When I first met Curtis, I asked what to call him. He said, "Curtis, that's my name." I thought, cool. For my birthday, he filled my entire house with my favorite flowers, catas and gardenias. A van pulled up, and they just kept bringing more and more flowers. He's so thoughtful. He's generous and very kind. But with so many people involved, it got uncomfortable for everyone. They pushed her in different directions without letting her decide. Her publicist said, "Do this," and someone else said, "Do that." It was confusing. So, is it true you turned the 12-carat ring into an earring?
Oh, wow.
I really enjoyed this interview. Thank you. Oh, wait, there was one more thing I wanted to mention. I posted about our interview, and one of my former teachers had a message for you. She said you're an excellent role model for children. You never gave up on your dreams and realized that ruling the streets wasn't the way to live. She's so proud of you. This teacher is really happy with the image you project and sees you as a role model. Speaking of role models, in Monaco, Prince Albert threw an amazing party. It was unforgettable. She makes a lot of noise, and I don't like that. You want a noisy girl? Yeah, I want a girl who doesn't fake it. She yells, "Bill opening October 22nd. Did you have to date her for a long time, taking her out and buying her jewelry?" Yeah, we went to a few different places. But then he went on his European tour, and that's when the relationship started to fall apart. After the World Music Awards, I came back and he was on the radio saying he dumped me. Laughs, you dumped her? Be honest. Yeah, I stopped calling her. Really? You just stopped calling? Yeah, I just felt like her people were trying to take advantage of the situation. It seemed like they were using me for publicity. Good for you. Well, they couldn't have been using me for publicity because at that time, I was the hottest thing out there. If we hadn't been so close, I wouldn't have really known who she was. And there was no way she was going to let him control the story without getting her side out there. I met him as Curtis, but anyway, the relationship didn't work out, but the press kept talking about it long after it ended. I just don't understand why the press does that. Why do they always seem to blame the woman? When I read all that, I was like, this is crazy. It was all so ridiculous. The press wasn't the problem, it was him. He was out here saying things like, she's exploiting me and she's just using me for publicity, which wasn't true at all. I was about to star in a film with award-winning actors, and I've been acting for years. But he just called it ghetto love, his way of handling the breakup by blaming me. And when 50 Cent blamed the dip in ratings for the second season on gay stuff, that was just crazy.
What do you think about that?
Press lasted a lot longer than the relationship did. So, I mean,
why do you think the press does that? Why do they like vilify the woman? Because when I read that stuff, I was like, it's so ridiculous.
You know, it's like they say, the pot calling the kettle black. That's what I'm getting at. And when it comes to Soulja Boy, people need to cut him some slack. He's been in the rap game since he was really young, just like Lil Wayne. He's been through a lot. He's had some tough moments. Remember that time in New York when things got messy? Whoever he was with kicked him out, and he ended up walking around in the hallway. It's been a crazy journey for him, for sure. Remember when they kicked him out into the hallway? He was just walking around, holding his nuts, looking confused. And that couple actually made it onto a magazine cover together. We've all seen that. But as for 50, he's always calling other people out, especially about the gay scene in the industry. He always knows so much about it. How does he know all that unless he's been part of it? Birds of a feather flock together, right? If you're always pointing fingers, maybe you've seen it firsthand. Game recognizes game. Personally, I loved it. It was everything, loud, crazy, and perfect. He was really into the whole RAC played stuff. But here's the thing, I'm not sure if that was really him, or if it was just drunk him, or maybe a mix of both. I'm still looking into it and piecing everything together. The fans? They think it's all BS, but they don't really get it. We just need to stand our ground and show them we're serious. And about the lawsuit, yep, she's getting sued. All of them are getting sued. You heard me right. Y'all got me messed up. Not Draco. I need another mansion. You're getting sued, ma'am, and so is anyone involved. Even the ones who posted about it, y'all are getting sued too. Then my friend Daryl Brown called me and said, "Yo, your boy's on the radio blasting you." I was like, "Who?" And he said, 50 Cent.